Definitely Sneaky. I'd probably put him first and then probably Doublelift second.
Yeah, I'd give it to Sneaky. I wouldn't. I'd give it to Sneaky. And then number 2, Doublelift. Number 3, that's a tough spot. That's a really tough spot. There's a lot of really good ADCs out there. But Sven, yeah, you think Sven? Yeah, Sven's pretty good.
I would probably say Sneaky, to be honest.
Sneaky, probably. I would say definitely number 1. Definitely believe Sven can get there, but Cody Sun.
Oh. Cody. Welcome back to the NALCS Countdown. We've made our way back out to the arena to do some tier lists. You heard from the fans. Seems like there was a pretty big consensus that Sneaky tops the list. But I do want to see how fan sentiment compares to the sentiment of our 2 analysts up here. So let's throw the list up onto the board. Boom!
Luckily, no disagreements with Sneaky at the top.
All right.
Yeah, we got that unlocked.
I do want to talk about the difficulty of a bottom lane tier list in general, because I feel like this is one of the roles that is the hardest to judge. They're laning with the support. Their output in team fights is so dependent on what the rest of the team sets them up to do. So for me, so much of this is a subjective look of how I think they're doing in situations that they're put in. So was it a hard team fight? Was it an easy team fight? And how do they perform based on those expectations?
Absolutely. It's the role with arguably the least agency in the game, and so therefore their output is really team dependent. And I tried to go a little bit more data driven than Jat, so you're getting kind of 2 different looks based off that a little bit. And so we have Sneaky agreed at the top. Absolutely, hands down, I think the best AD carry in the league. All his stats are great. He doesn't receive too much help from his team on the lower end of that. Does great in laning phase, has huge DPS output in the actual game, and they have fast games as well, so it's not like his numbers are getting inflated.
Yeah, and one thing that I noticed about C9's bottom lane in general as well is how much lane pressure they exert, as well as still having the team fight output, which is what puts Sneaky on top for me. And I think the reason I have Doublelift at number 2, whereas Mark has him at 4th, is when I looked at turret taking stats in the early game, Team Liquid often breaks the bottom lane first turret as the first turret of the game, and very rarely lose it as the first turret of the game. So they're always exerting pressure down there, and then it's just about how consistently can they transition that into the team fight phase. And Doublelift outplays so many bad situations, but then you're wondering why he's in the bad situations in the first place.
And that's kind of what we get to when we talk about this TL stat, where they can't win any games that they're losing, and AD carry is supposed to be your most, consistent position. It does feel like part of that volatility does rest on the aggressive playmaking of Doublelift. His stats aren't great, but the guy that we have to talk about, elephant in the room, Cody Sun. Hardest person to put down on this list, hands down. His stats are nuts.
If you just look at Cody Sun's stats, 89.8% kill participation percentage, which is higher than anyone has had in NALCS history through 14 games. 40% of his team's damage, highest DPM for an AD carry. You could make an argument for Cody Sun to be MVP. Yet, when we're ranking this guy, coming into the list, before we looked at stats, we're like, yeah, I'm not sure where Cody Sun is, maybe somewhere in the middle. So it's weird in this situation because I think there have been a lot of games where enemy teams haven't necessarily focused him because maybe they're not expecting him to be a hyper carry, or the fact that he doesn't put out that much pressure in the lane on his own and is so good in team fights.
His laning stats are pretty much the only thing that he doesn't top the charts at, and they do play around bot lane a fair amount. You think about the coordination between Aphromoo and Meteos always getting kills down there, and that's why he has such high kill participation.
Yeah.
But do you really fault him for being able to follow up on his playmakers and people playing so much around him? I have a hard time doing that.
Yeah, I think I was very close to putting Cody Sun number 1, but the thing that stopped me from doing it was the fact that 100 Thieves doesn't actually have that much lane pressure despite getting a lot of lane ganks from Meteos. So they more often lose their bottom lane turret first than take the enemy turret with Meteos ganking so much. So Cody Sun is not the one getting the advantages, even if he's amazing in team fights.
Well, you both have the same cluster of 4 at the top, however, in different order. Where things start to get a little different, though, is where Arrow is placed on your list, Jat, as compared to Mark's.
And this is the toughest one. And
oh, yeah.
I see Arrow as with some of the worst laning stats in the game as far as the CS differential. And I think a lot of that is just the 2 Draven games where he stubbornly picked Draven, blind into Caitlyn matchups and lost heavily. Because when I look at the success cases for Optic, Arrow is still playing out of his mind. So that kind of overpowered some of the statistical things I saw from this guy because I don't think he's got a great support. I think Optic has had the weakest top lane in the league the whole year. So he hasn't been playing with much of a front line and still from the eye test, looking pretty good to me.
Yeah, I think the eye test definitely passes that, but like you said, there's so many problems when you look at his stats. He's by far the worst CSD at different benchmarks in the game. His DPM's not super impressive. He's dying a lot. You see that strange counter pick, like, okay, yeah, you want to play Draven because you need to kind of carry for your team, but you picked it in the bad situation. I don't just forgive that as easily.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, it was really tough for Aero. He's one of the guys who also, if I'm going to, reward Cody Sun at the top, I got to hold it against him, despite the fact that I do think he's much better than the 9th AD carry.
In a more statistically driven take on the tier list. Lastly, I want to talk about Apollo. Kind of flip-flopping for you, too. You got Apollo higher on your side, Mark, whereas you have him far lower on yours, Jat.
Yeah, and I think this is, of all the tier lists we've done top lane and mid lane, this was way harder to do.
Yeah.
And I think one thing I realized is that we have a lot of really good AD carries in North America. It felt awful to put Apollo at number 9, but I didn't see him shining well above any of these other guys. And it's really difficult because I didn't see huge weaknesses, even in Deathly, who I have as 10th. He's been a very reliable damage dealer for this team. And I think there's a reason no team has thought about subbing out their AD carry, because all of them have kind of done what they need to do when given the chance.
Yeah, especially at different points in the season. Like we talked about Stixxay, like, oh my God, this guy looks awful for the first 3 weeks. And then suddenly CLG has this massive resurgence completely off the back of his great play on Kalista, Tristan, all these different champions. And then you look at his stats, he's in the middle, Deathly in the middle, and you're left with this list of players who are all really good, deserve to be in the LCS, but it's just really hard to differentiate from the bottom half down.
I do think it is also interesting, too, just given what our first matchup of the day is, and if we kind of transition towards that Echo Fox versus Clutch Gaming, taking a look at how you guys have the ADCs in this matchup stacked up against each other, given maybe a slight edge to Altec, but honestly, they were a bit abused yesterday last week in the bot lane.
Yeah, last week was terrible for Echo Fox's bottom lane, and I think they acknowledged that in one of the games for Altec against Deathly. His DPM difference was like over 800, which is normally more than an AD carry does in a game.
Right.
But the rest of the season for Altec, I think, has actually been pretty good. When he had lane priority with Kalista picks, they were able to do well when all the focus is elsewhere. So based on kills, assists, and some of the overall pressure taken out last week, he's actually better than this, but that last week was too hard to overlook.
I mean, there you got it right there, their laning stats from the last few games.
And you have to look at kind of what happened in context. Like they played against Zaya Rakan. It didn't feel like they were aware of that heading into 8.4. They got smashed by that a fair amount. Dardoch doesn't play around their bot lane very often. They're much more of a top map focused team. So when they get this big camp down the bot lane and losing matchups, they can get exploited a little bit. It is true, though, that Altec has the highest death percentage in the league, does seem to die too much. Echo Fox games are very bloody, so it's no surprise he has good KDA stats still. But it is a little concerning for him that they have bad laning stats. They don't get much help, it's fair to say, but he was one of the ones that was also kind of hard to place.
All righty, well, before we get into predictions and win conditions, we're going to get a quick word from D-Lim.
I think that our mid game is actually pretty good, if not top tier, especially in the North American LCS. A lot of people kind of attribute us to not make that many plays and then kind of win, but there are reasons why the other team can't make plays on us in the mid game, with our vision being set up really well and us going for really smart objectives and trading objectives when we need to. So I think through our mid game, we've been snowballing games a lot, and even when we're behind, because our early game stats aren't that good, we've been consistently winning games through our mid game. It's exciting. Anytime I do these pregame interviews, it seems like we win, so I'm excited for this buff, and Echo Fox is the best team in NALCS, if not top 2, so if we beat them, I think it'll show that, at least in the best of ones, that we can compete with anyone.
I hadn't thought about the pregame interview buff.
Yeah.
Have we been tracking that? What's
on that?
I was going to say, what's the success rate of the pregame interviews in wins? We should start pairing those against your guys' predictions.
Perhaps.
That could be fun for the future. But diving into this discussion, Clutch Gaming versus Echo Fox, it is the top team in the league against a team sitting in third. But I think what's really interesting is our continuing conversations around Clutch Gaming and how much of a puzzle this team really is in terms of how good are they really.
Well, you kind of heard what D-Lim was saying there about how strong their mid game is. People can't take advantage of them, so they do a great job against teams that they are better than. They don't make these same mistakes that a lot of other teams in the league are making and dropping games to teams lower than them, but at the same time, their ceiling is something that I think is in question for us because they don't have very strong wins.
They still actually don't have a quality win. When we look at the standings, there is a line you can draw that they have not beaten. So anyone in the top 5, they are winless against, and they are undefeated of anyone in the bottom 5. So to me, that makes them a 5th to 6th place team if that stays consistent.
Yeah, especially given that TSM, one of their games was that crazy Apollo stealing everything in sight game. TSM could literally become the line had they lost one game.
It's a weird contrast between, they've picked up enough wins, they've been consistent enough to be the 3rd place team.
For sure.
But come playoff time, when you have to play the 6th place team or the 5th place team, all of a sudden their odds of winning seem to go right out the window.
Yeah, or even in these next few weeks where they have to play Team Liquid, 100 Thieves, and Echo Fox as 3 of their 4 games.
Yep.
How strong will they finish the season? Because the time is now for Clutch Gaming to be able to prove themselves, but I still don't think they have proven it, even if they sit in 3rd place.
Oh my goodness. All right, well, with predictions, that's where I want to move next, kind of get some emphasis on who you guys think is going to win this first one. So let's throw those up onto the board. Oh, before we do that, actually, last week, you guys went 3-2 against our audience.
Yep.
So it felt only natural to bring the audience back into this one and see if they can give you a run for money again. So let's roll that clip. Let's see who they predicted for today's matches.
James, who do you think is going to win, Clutch Gaming or Echo Fox?
Echo Fox.
All right, we got FlyQuest, we got CLG. Who do you like?
Not even close.
CLG it is. All right. Optic Gaming versus Cloud9. Who do you guys think?
That's a tough one. Cloud9, I think.
Hoping for Team Liquid, Double Lift fan. So might have to cross my fingers on that one. It could be a toss-up. TSM's been looking strong lately, but I think Team Liquid can clinch it if they keep their synergy and their stuff together with their jungle.
Golden Guardians, because they've beaten a lot of good teams so far. They beat Echo Fox, which is the leading team. So I think they're just trying to prove themselves.
Copy that.
I love it. I love it. Some bold predictions.
The CLG prediction stuck with the
CLG. Oh, yeah, man. I love it. Well overruled. And that's the way it shall be.
There's a lot of differences there.
So here's the big difference between you guys only comes in game 1, where Mark is going for Clutch. We'll get to that in a moment. I want to take a look at where the audience disagrees with the both of you, and that's going to come in the last 2 games of the day. Team Liquid, first of all, TSM might want that jersey back, by the way. Voting for Team Liquid when you're wearing a TSM jersey, rude as hell. But all right, let's talk about this. Team Liquid, let's justify the win against TSM.
Well, I think it's probably one of the closer games of the day as well, so it's not like a big surprise to go one way or the other. I think Jad and I have been talking a lot about how TAL is still inconsistent. They don't seem to play well from behind. TSM generally gets leads early on, and they seem like they've been improving over time.
Yeah, and I think both of these teams are wildly inconsistent. We know that Team Liquid smashed TSM in the first game of the year, and I also don't think Team Liquid has improved much from that point, whereas TSM has improved a little bit. So neither of these teams are as strong as you expected them to be coming into the year.
We've also got the wildly bold Golden Guardians prediction at the end of the day.
Those are the ones that
there?
get you, Dash. Those
I know. Hey, man,
they've
picked up a win per week here in the last few.
Second round robin, Golden Guardians has a 500 record, which is about the same as what 100 Thieves has been able to put out. So not as crazy as you would think when you look at recency.
All right, but seeing as how you two are split on the first matchup, I did want to bring in one more analyst, and that would be Kubo. Kubo calls it, so let's take a look.
All right. This is a fake out right here. So we filmed this morning. You think he's never?
Oh! What did he see Alltech and Adrian in the bowl?
Yeah.
He saw Alltech and Adrian was like, nope.
Yeah.
Woo! Yeah, he took a look at that bowl.
About the Echo Fox bowl. The same food was in both bowls.
I like how you took it out too. Like,
yes.
Do you give it back if he gets it right?
No, you don't reward defeat.
Never.
You reward for getting it right.
No, you don't reward defeat. Only the winner. And Kubo chose the winner.
And he picked
Clutch Gaming. You should be happy. Why
I'm saying you can take it out, but does he get that treat later if he gets it right?
Look, we only got 2.5 minutes. So, Mark, given that you've chosen Clutch and you've chosen Echo Fox, we're going to do win conditions, split down the middle, just like that. Mark laid on me.
Well, so the reason I'm picking Clutch a little bit here is because I've been getting a lot of shade from them.
Hold up. You guys hearing this?
I think they got
headsets on. No, they have headsets on.
But
Apollo
that's unfortunate.
and Solo both called me out at different points, despite the fact that Jad has them finishing 6th. I don't know why I get the hate here from this team, but apparently I'm calling them out. So this is my chance. They're like, please win this game. I am picking them now.
All right, how do they do it? How do they do it?
Got a Clutch Faith.
Yeah, so I got the Clutch Faith for at least today, so if I get it wrong, I can be like, there, that's why. But I hope they beat up the bot lane with something that we've seen a little bit against Echo Fox. Apollo and Akuho sometimes have some good counter picks. We've seen them play Zaya Rakan. They play Morgana to get some advantage, so I want to see them go for that strategy. The other thing you need to do is track Dardoch. He's an absolute beast. He will destroy your top side of the map, and he does go bot lane sometimes, so figure out what his game plan is and stop him from influencing what you're going to try to do bot lane.
All right, Jad, how did the #1 team stay on top?
I mean, the same way they got there. So Huni is pretty good. You should probably continue to play through him. I think they overthink it sometimes when they're trying to make too many plays bottom lane, because I think Dardoch and Huni as a duo are just so far above so many other jungle top lane duos that they can win through that and then let Phoenix's strong laning, let Altec's strong team fighting kind of carry them through. I don't think they have to overcomplicate things against Clutch.
Right. Well, some thoughts from our experts. It's a really hype first matchup of the day, though, so let's waste no more time, rather, and send it up to the casters. Guys, take it away.
We're trapped in here. They won't let us out of the box. Help! Let us. Okay, hi. I'm David Freak.
I'm gonna need a replacement caster. anyone available?
The box got bigger. It's a lot more comfortable up here. Thank you so much, production. My name is David Freak Turley. This is Isaac Azale Cummings Bentley. That was a great intro. I ad-libbed that one.
That was fantastic, guess. That was ad-lib. We just found out. That
they told me 20 seconds ago we're gonna be in that little monitor, and I was like, you know, I'm gonna do scream like my life depends on it.
How little you could come up with in that time.
Small brain. Mine's a little bit smooth in this one. Huni's on the screen. I hear he's pretty good. The analyst said so it must be true. Jat says that Echo Fox can win through him. There's Phoenix on your screen as well. He's also done pretty well for himself. Echo Fox have been largely winning through the top side of the map.
Yeah, they definitely have. I mean, Huni has just been a monster. You know, not only in counterpick situations, but even in tank versus tank. We saw them going up last week in Cho'Gath versus Maokai matchup. He's like 100 CS above Dokla, and he's able to kind of dominate and influence the game. It feels like no matter what pick, no matter what situation he's put in, because he's just that good, and it makes sense to continue focusing on that top lane until it stops working.
All right, well, the Dardoch face in the screen. You got an Adrian down there as well. Let's see how it goes. Echo Fox certainly apparently more involved fans, so Clutch, keep up, guys. Azir banned away. Clutch Gaming, I think everyone kind of expects that's a very strong champion for Phoenix. There is the Zaya ban away, so it will remove one of those heavy lane bully duos that we've seen work well against Echo Fox in the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, and one of the nice things about the Zaya ban is it really does kind of remove the entire duo, right? Rakan doesn't work very well usually on his own, so you're going to be able to eliminate that. But Clutch has not only been playing with the Zaya Rakan by any means, it's only actually been picked one time here by Apollo. He is kind of preferred to play Varus quite a lot. He has been one of the guys who's been bringing out Caitlyn. But one of the things that has been really interesting to me is, despite the really high priority actually placed on Varus, is that it is by far the worst performing pro pick on 8.4 with a high pick rate. It actually is sitting down at a 32.5% win rate in pro play, despite being very, very high priority. So it really hasn't been working out for teams, and whether that's just, hey, like an unlucky streak of games, or whether it is showing that the teams are prioritizing it too much, is something that'll maybe be kind of explored over these next couple weeks.
So we'll see what comes through, as Varus is still on the table. So is the Caitlyn, is a strong laner. Ryze, of course, first picked here for Febiven, and it seems individually Febby has been the biggest performer for Clutch Gaming. He's on the highest priority champion in all of pro play in 8.4. Ryze in the mid lane should do well for him. We'll see how it does into this one, as Clutch Gaming are 1 game behind a playoff bye. They're 1 win behind Cloud9, only 2 behind first place in Echo Fox. We'll see if that can continue on. Sejuani going to be grabbed for Dardoch in the jungle alongside that Varus you mentioned before, and another jungler in for Lyra with the Zac.
Yeah, Ryze and Skarner have really been incredibly high as far as priority goes. Galio as well, I think very, very high up there. And yeah, this has been an exceptionally fast draft. The Varus going over to Echo Fox's side, so they're going to have to see if they can kind of improve upon the very poor win rate it has been showing on 8.4. I think Caitlyn is going to be a pretty nice matchup into it, and I think Caitlyn is one of the AD carries that has really been under-prioritized in recent times. I do like the Morgana ban here, because I think that when you are going to go this heavily into lane priority for the Caitlyn, I think it makes a lot of sense to draft it alongside a range support and try to really smash lane. Because if Caitlyn cannot be dictating the pace of the game, knocking down turrets, rotating around the map, and pressuring lanes, you really do get stuck in this pretty long period in the mid game where you're very, very weak.
And look at that ban. Zyra going to be removed from options. Even though we haven't seen it played, you know it's on the tip of his tongue. You know it's an option right there. And so it's Echo Fox continuing to try to snipe at that win condition. see if that works out for him.
And that is kind of giving a tip of the hat to what would have been going on in scrims, right? You don't often see a ban like this without some sort of reasoning behind it. Yes, it has not been coming out in the NALCS, but Zyra plus Caitlyn is very, very strong in solo queue as far as a pushing lane, one of the most dominant bully 2v2 lanes. Yes, it is vulnerable to ganks and that sort of thing, but they're obviously very much targeting Hakuho here, trying to shut him down as far as having that 2v2 win condition. With Tahm Kench picked up, there certainly is more opportunity to go for another bully laner, something like a Nami or along those lines. I think can be pretty successful, but not sure if they're willing to go that far down in the priority.
Well, first they're going to have to blind pick their top laner. Echo Fox seem to have a pretty solid grasp on all their lanes, and of course they're saving counter pick for Huni up in the top side. We have seen Cassiopeia go top before, so maybe he's already picked the champion. But either way, it likely is going to be a good look for Echo Fox. You saw the Gangplank being banned away. Clutch trying to remove that as an option as well. And so what support does Hakuho play? And it's going to be actually Thresh, so playmaking more so than lane bullying in the bottom lane.
Yeah, and honestly, I can't say I'm the biggest fan of the Thresh pick into Tahm Kench. You know, when you're looking at this draft, if you did not see the pick order, you would be assuming in most situations that the Tahm Kench was picked afterwards, right?
Sure.
And I do think that, you know, through the manipulation of picks and bans, they have kind of ended in this situation where they almost maybe force their hand a little bit, because maybe this is kind of the last rung on the ladder there for Hakuho as far as, you know, bully type laners go.
But we'll see if he can get himself out of the lane and find picks away from Tahm Kench. I agree with you, of course, in the sort of one-on-one where they're both there, it's very easy to devour a teammate. As we saw, the Gnar was picked up here for Huni, so despite being nerfed a little bit in 8.4, both to the Q cooldown as well as to Frozen Mallet slow, still a champion Huni wants to play to bully his opposition. Pre-level 6, pretty much the same champion anyway, and so we'll see if that top lane priority can continue. If Grata can make those ganks happen up there, or if Lyra can turn it back around. Of course, his Skarner was banned away earlier on. One of the few champions Lyra's actually looked good on. And we'll see if Clutch Gaming can make the upset happen. Champ Select is over, the team's ready to go, and now it's time for that all-important handshake. This could be the last time these teams face off this split. We'll see if they meet in playoffs or not.
And the top lane, I think, is going to be very important. You know that Echo Fox wants to play around top lane. When you're looking at Huni versus Solo, just as far as players, that is a mismatch. The champions are a mismatch, also favored towards Huni's side. You know, just not that long ago, you watched KT versus SKT. This exact same match is played. The Gnar is 50+ CS ahead, and that's the same kind of thing that can happen here, unless Lyra can get up to the top side of the map and shut that down and put Solo at an advantage. Because if he can get ahead, you can withstand these matchups. You can get tanky enough that you will be able to survive and be more useful in a team fight.
Absolutely the case. So let's see if Clutch can survive the top lane as the champions are ready to run across the map. We've got a coin for Thresh right there. It does make it a little bit more of a roaming type champion. He can move a bit faster via the buffs that happened to that item in 8.4. That's his choice. And now we'll see as everyone runs the map what happens in level 1.
And I like that point out of the increased move speed on this item. And I am expecting alongside that probably early Moby boots to be able to see Thresh try to get out on the map and kind of affect different lanes. We'll see how effective that will be for Hakuho. He also is taking Summoner's Spellbook, so we can't even look to swap to things like TP and really make plays across the map, trying to play away from the Tahm Kench, as you kind of alluded to in Champion Select. But there is a downside to this sort of build, and that is that you are incredibly squishy, right? If you do ever get hit by CC, you're not building any HP early on. Moby plus coin. Yeah. And you are basically paper, right? There is the crowd control that could come out, you know, level 6 from a Varus ultimate, the Sejuani ultimate, Cassie ultimate. Really, you get caught in anything and you will die. So it's kind of high risk, high reward type situation that rewards aggressive players who are going to get out on the map and make something happen.
And I appreciate taking an aggressive stance when you're against a team that's expected to be better than you on paper. I think risky is the way to go when you're facing the #1 team in the region, and that's going to be a bit of the plan here from the Hakuho bot lane. The jungle leash about to start here as minions spawn in 3 seconds, or monsters I should say. Attempted hook comes in, a little bit of poke. Looks like Clutch, of course, not going to leash for Zach. He gets to start Raptors, no problem, as they're going to put some hits on towards Adrian, but it won't really be stopping anything. Drawdock will get his blue buff without many issues. And Echo Fox going to go ahead and grab XP in that lane in a second.
Yeah, and I think it's worth a try, you know, in this situation anyway. Just kind of move over, see if there's any, you know, damage or annoyance you can kind of deal to your opponents there. But as far as the Clutch Gaming win conditions, and as far as the fact that they are, you know, definitely not the favored team here, I do like the draft quite a bit. I think it makes quite some sense. High priority on the Rise pick here for Febiven, who has been, in my opinion, the star of the team, the most dominant player for them. You have an advantageous bot lane as well, and you know, despite the fact that there are going to be some troubles perhaps on the top side of the map, if Solo can stabilize that and make it a farm lane, and you know, even if he is down, he will be relevant in team fights as a Cho'Gath. Cho'Gath has very powerful team fighting, so you can kind of negate some of the advantages by perhaps taking an early turret bot with the Caitlyn Thresh duo, then rotating and trying to put Huni in this 2v1 situation and things like that. So I definitely think that there is a lot of playmaking. There's advantageous lane on the bot side, and they're going to have some opportunities certainly to kind of make their mark in this game.
So Dardoch probably didn't give away very easily that he was taking the Scuttle right there. The Scuttle was briefly seen on the board, but pretty much impossible to track that. So he is unseen getting behind Febiven, and he thought he was safe. So now he's got to outplay this kind of gank right here. Put some damage towards Febiven, or sorry, towards Phoenix. He keeps running up towards the north-hand side. Of course, the Gnar can join as well with the slows coming in. There is no way out for this player anymore. Can put some damage in and buy some time, but that is certainly going to be a dead Rise. Unless he's got a Blast Planet, of course, there's not one available. With some dueling onto Phoenix, though, decent damage to the stars. He dodges away from the Q. Actually, good damage. Can he land some more spells? He's got a half HP. Febiven gets hit up one more time, flashes in, but he can't do the damage. Loses all his summoners. First Blood still comes through.
Loses all his summoners, but does trade 2 for 2 in the summoners and almost gets First Blood there. You know, given this situation and the fact that Phoenix is actually losing the farm in a lane that was pushed into him, that was pretty incredible from Febiven. I think that is about as well as you could ever hope to play that. And he is, you know, it's an assist guild given over to Phoenix. Yes, it is First Blood to Dardoch, but as far as the actual lane 1v1, it's not that big of a deficit there for Febiven.
Some specifics are pretty good as Dardoch looks to make sure he can take this blue buff away because of the lane control. It does mean a tier recall for everyone. Here comes the duo lane, the top and the jungle showing up for this one. This fight's going to come through. That's going to go over to Dardoch, but he's pulled back in, and Debbie's the first one to roam. Lyra has the passive. He won't die very easily. Dardoch gets knocked up in the air. That will be the first kill of the game for Clutch's side, and that invade goes wrong.
It goes really bad. Double buffs now over on a solo. I talked about if you can get some gold onto this Cho'Gath, he can get tanky enough that Huni will no longer be able to dominate that matchup, will no longer be able to bully him, and this is a good step in that direction. Plus, on the first base, it's a tier for Febiven because he started on the Mana Crystal. There was farm that was lost by Phoenix. You can see there's a big wave building towards Febiven. So, honestly, all things considered, despite the First Blood gold advantage for Echo Fox, they are down in gold, and things are looking pretty well for Clutch. And this is honestly just really, really smart from Febiven. It looked like it was a bit of a lost cause, but the fact that he can kind of pull them into a situation where he could go either way meant that Dardoch and Phoenix split up. Some really nice side stops and dodging, and he gets him incredibly low there. Almost able to take him out. Dardoch, though, body blocking the Qs, able to stop that from coming through. And then here's the clap. Very aggressive from Echo Fox trying to make this play. Febiven is quicker to the spot because it is on his side of the map, and that means no real way out there for Dardoch. Kill gets given back over, and the blue buff is kind of kept alive there. And as a result, you can see it's actually Solo that's pushing Huni in and is up in HP.
And speaking of up in HP, as far as pushing in as well, this bot lane is doing really nicely for the Clutch Gaming duo, plus 11 CS so far. They got some damage in for themselves. So wins kind of across the board so far for Clutch.
Definitely so. And honestly, they talked about it in the pregame and in the countdown a little bit. Altic and Adrian have been struggling recently, and one of the most concerning things for me when I'm looking at the strength of the Echo Fox team is not just that they have had some bad games, but it's who they've had those bad games against, right? It has been, you know, Deathly and Matt, Lemonation and Arrow that they have been getting blasted by in these bottom lanes, and you know, that is very different from losing to a Sneaky or Smoothie or a Sven and Mithy or a Doublelift and Olay.
Sure.
So now that they are going up against Olay, or rather Apollo and Hawklow here, they could be in tough against this Caitlyn.
Could be the case right here. You're going to see that CS difference going to remain above 10, but Potion's not running out. Echo Fox can stay in lane and keep gaining experience for now. Also, their item spikes will be different, so even if Apollo gets a BF Sword recall, recurve bow is easy enough to grab for Altec, so no easy way to make an advantageous recall timing. That can matter in some of the matchups, of course. If it was like a Twitch, that would be different. Is Dardoch going to be able to kill away a control ward? Now, he individually has been out-farming Lyra, though. Throughout the games, he's gotten himself about 3 or 4 extra camps in addition to that First Blood gold, so he's actually pretty rich in the Sejuani.
And even though he died and gave over the blue buff, he actually got the experience for killing it because he won that Smite battle as well. So, you know, one of the biggest things to me as far as this early game of comparing junglers is not just the gold advantage, it's actually the experience advantage. He's almost an entire level ahead. He's almost level 6, while Lyra is just closing in on level 5. So Dardoch certainly has done a much better job in that regard in the early game, and Lyra is going to have some work to do to catch up because, as we all know, Sejuani at 6, very, very powerful, has a lot of ganking potential, and Lyra needs to kind of get that experience and stay relevant because as it stands right now, 6 for Dardoch, just 5 for Lyra.
camp, so that's a big deal. Of course, a full level, as you mentioned a second ago. Lyra will get his red buff, but nothing else is on the map for him right now, so it will be quite a while until Let's Bounce is available, and Dardoch can maybe use that timing window. Febiven's TP is down, used to get back into the mid lane, but every other lane has flash, so it might be a bit harder to gank. Dardoch Cinderhulk done, Red Smite on. No boots just yet, but he's certainly going to be a quite strong duelist.
Yeah.
First recalls came in for the bottom lane, and yeah, honestly, Altec's items are not too far behind. You're going to see some career stats for these players, and yeah, it's been a bit better so far, I could say, for Apollo, but we see what happens here.
That's over 14 games there for Altec, so definitely not good Varus stats, but also that's pretty much on par with how Varus has been doing in 8.4. No one has been doing well with it. This is obviously career-wide, but still looking for a gank here. Lyra is around, but Dardoch will be down to the bot side pretty soon. And Lyra does need to continue farming it up, getting the experience because he is behind. So if you try to force a gank from the behind situation and it fails, you're going to fall so far behind because you can get counter ganks, you can lose that, then you lose more camps, and it really does start to snowball.
And now, of course, they also know that Dardoch was at the blue buff. He just handed that one over to Phoenix as he walked back in a lane. Febi almost certainly called that. It's pretty much can't be a mid lane without calling, hey, you picked up blue. That's what the jungler is. That would be a travesty to miss that one.
You can, but maybe you can't be a good mid lane.
Well, that's fair. But, I mean, we're in the LCS right now, and even people want to make fun of
mid laner,
Hey, even I call when blue buff gets taken, all right? You check yourself.
Okay, I apologize.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for giving me the credit that I know how to type into my team. Jungler's top side is going to be a knock-up here to this one. Pretty good damage up. He's going to pull him back.
Bring them back.
And let's see if they find the next little piece for that one. The ulti going to put up the root, and yeah, Adrian going to flash to stay himself alive, but that is 3 summoners down at trade for Ignite of Hakuho.
A lot of summoners down, but I can't help but feeling perhaps they could have gotten more. Lyra didn't even expend the ultimate there. And when Tahm Kench actually eats up the AD carry, normally you see the Zac player use Let's Bounce to pull them both back in and kind of neutralize that advantage, but he didn't try to go for that. Dardoch is going to steal away the blue buff, even take the Gromp here, so he's getting so much ahead as far as the experience advantage. And yes, you force summoners on the bot side, but if your bottom lane cannot convert on that and get a tower or something, Lyra is giving up a ton to actually get that bot lane edge, right? He is not 7, Dardoch is now 7.5, so definitely big goal difference in the jungle, definitely big experience difference in the jungle, but it's kind of priority on different sides.
And honestly, that bot lane priority is not paying for very much this season. It's still only 11, and that turret's only lost about 15% of its health. It's not close to falling at all, and this is a Caitlyn lane. Yes, it's Thresh. It's not like you're playing a Zyva or Brand alongside it, but still not a lot of gains really being had. The farm actually has become plus 600 for Echo Fox. It was plus 300 for Clutch Gaming after that kill had come through a while ago, so the farm is going better. The jungle, again, massively different.
And that's why I'm really surprised to have not seen a flash plus Let's Bounce coming out to follow the flashes, because if you get the kills on the bot side, then take the turret, it's a huge advantage.
Ooh, nice stopwatch dodge. The ultimate that's going to be on cooldown now, but gets right back out. No real pain to be had. And that is the first gank from Dardoch. Gets turned around.
Does get the stopwatch out. And while it was a well-timed stopwatch, I wonder if it was actually needed with 2 people right there behind him to back him up, right? Because in that situation, you have allocated more resources, 3 men from Clutch to the mid lane versus the 2. Yes, you created the ultimate, but you did get out of the stopwatch, so they didn't really get anything from that. And maybe that's a situation where it's actually better to just wait for the Lantern to come through or something along those lines.
Yeah, maybe so.
Hard to know.
Of course, he chose the risk-averse option, and I can't blame him for it entirely, but might get punished next time around when that ulti is available yet again. Febiven, all summoners available. We'll see if the roam plays come through. So far, Phoenix is holding on to him pretty cleanly in the one-on-one. That's a small farm lead for the Echo Fox mid laner. And they're just slowly kind of grinding out a small gold different laning phase.
Yeah, and Phoenix did have the counter pick there, so he had the secondary pick. I definitely have to give some credit to Solo on the top side, who has been doing very well. He will be falling a bit more behind now as he's getting pushed off, but this game really has been mostly just jungle difference, right? This has been Dardoch simply getting more gold than his opponent, taking away the top side of the map, and because of that jungle difference, because of the pressure that he's putting out, that's actually going to finally give Huni a pretty nice edge. Yeah. They're going to be able to knock down that turret. But even still, with that kill that Solo picked up early on, have to credit him for not falling very far behind in the 1v1.
Yeah, not falling behind in farm, but all it took was a single trip from Sejuani to say, all right, your top lane first turret is ours, 300 first turret gold goes into our pockets, and now this gold lead is 1,800 for Echo Fox.
Yeah, very nicely done.
So they are in control right here. Cloud Drake is spawned. We are still in 8.4, so it's the only out-of-combat move speed version of that one. That'll transition into week 9 in the playoffs, or when that gets changed up. So still in the old patch for us here. And we'll see as the players continue on. Phoenix goes for a duel, gets rooted up. That pretty decent damage out of Febiven, but again, Clutch Gaming have yet to find anything really impressive happening in the last 10 minutes.
And Phoenix, with Cassio on 8.4, when you have the Catalyst, when you have the tier, you have so much mana that you can actually sustain up pretty well with your Poison plus the Twin Fangs. So you heal off waves pretty well, and you can kind of afford to take those sorts of trades. Paulo and Hakuo have whittled down the turret and bot side pretty low, and definitely want to see them trying to take this down. If you can knock down this turret and then perhaps rotate around the map, start to threaten turrets in the top side and these sorts of things, that's when this can start to pay dividends. But they do need to kind of push the pace a little bit because it is pretty far in, and you really did want to get first turret with this sort of 2v2 that you drafted.
And so we'll see if the outscaling comes through then, if Varus can have a good enough mid-game as he continues to build up over time. Ripfield summon in the mid lane as Phoenix clears away the minions, and
that's going to be that turret. I don't think there's really enough defense in position. We'll see if they can get there in time. I mean, it's getting very, very low.
There's some CC ulti going to come in there. Actually going to pull in Phoenix a flash forward, but he gets right out of it with his own flash away. So that is safety out of these squads. And no kill to be had as Solo couldn't get in for the silence in time, it feels like. That would have been almost certainly a kill if they did manage to land the crowd control chain, or at least force them to cleanse. Turret will stay alive, but down to a sliver of health means an expected extended siege will kill that from Echo Fox.
Yeah, they should be able to knock it down eventually, and you can see the wave is pushing awkwardly away from Solo, so it's stacking for his opponent. So he needs to actually finish shoving this out fully before he can afford to go back to mid lane. Otherwise, he would just be giving over more experience and gold to his opponent, and that means Echo Fox very easily and comfortably moves over, takes a dragon, and they just have been playing the map so well, and you have to really give a ton of credit to Dardoch and how he has manipulated the map movements and really kind of just been doing better than Lyra. He has farmed more, he has exerted more pressure, he has been in the right place at the right time, and you can argue that some of that is because of the matchup and perhaps the very weak early couple levels of Zac, but definitely Dardoch doing the best with the pick that he's been given.
Totally agree, and Dardoch's been, I think, a name in the hat for MVP and certainly for best jungler in North America. I think most people would give him that nod at this point based on how he's played on the squad. And this is kind of what it looks like when you've got the much better player. He takes away the camps. He's stolen at least 2 blue buffs. Now 1 given away from a kill, sure, but has been able to take a lot of farm away and maintain a full level lead. So a really good play out of him on the Sejuani, and Echo Fox has done very well trusting in him on the roster and looks very good. Chomp! Nice try, Huni, but 1,000 true damage more than you do on Gnar.
Definitely I have been somewhat impressed, and it feels funny to maybe be talking about this from Solo's perspective, but I think this is a very tough matchup, and he's actually at 6 stacks of his beast here as well, and this is turning into a bit of a fight, but both bot lanes roaming up.
Ooh, ulti lands, a lot of CC right now. Hakuo going to be pushed back and forth, running away, and here comes everyone else as the teleports do come in. The flash away from the tongue lash. And Huni's still around, doesn't quite land the boomerang, but still 4 down here.
He's almost mega here as well. They're going to look for more.
Flash is in, Lantern comes in, Huni not quite going to be in range of Flash away. Hakuo going to lose his life almost assuredly.
Nice
the stuns come in, and that is not yet a kill. They keep him alive. Where's the house toss? He's out of range, and somehow they all live. A lot of times spent. Here comes Lyra. Does he have the ultimate available to find someone to kidnap? Brings him back to the right-hand side turret. Big damage coming across. That's actually important. There's no ulti for the Cho'Gath, but Phoenix takes turret aggro. Couple hundred health lost, but he walks away with that one cleanly enough. Everyone down here, no kills to be found. Not quite the knockup on Altec either.
That was actually some beautiful play there from Apollo. Flashing to avoid the Sejuani ult, landing the trap there on Huni to actually peel off of Hakuo, then the play coming through from Hakuo, and this is honestly pretty nicely navigated here from the Clutch bot lane to get away. They look for the initial engage. Huni's the one being in first, but the box slow able to keep Adrian off him, and then Huni with the red buff, almost Mega Gnar. They want to go for the dive, but Febiven already down here in position. Dardoch moving forward. Now watch the flash here from Apollo, dodges the ult, and the trap dropped in between Huni there, catches him, healing Huni just barely off, allowing him to get to the ult, and the flay to come up there from Hakuo. So some nice synergy, well handled. And as Solo TP's down, he wants to have a bigger impact here, but as we saw on the top side of the map, he used his feast to actually secure that scuttle, and it was not off cooldown, so couldn't actually secure any kills.
Yeah, and I can't blame him for that one. You didn't know the fight's going to be coming in. And Lyra, of course, chose to push them towards the outer turret instead of the tier 2. That maybe could have been a misplay. Here comes a push in the mid lane. That will be turret number 2 falling. Echo Fox, without picking up any kills, have now knocked down 2 consecutive turrets on their side of this one. 2,000 gold lead remains their lead.
And Clutch, for the story for them, a lot of this season has been consistency. I would say consistently they beat the teams that they are better than, and consistently they lose to the teams that are above them in the standings. And that has been a bit of a kind of conundrum for them. Yes, you can I think give a lot of credit to the coaching for them not throwing any games against worse teams and these sorts of things. But one of the things I have felt Clutch is missing oftentimes is a bit of the X factor, someone to be a playmaker and kind of turn some of these games on their head, where you see some of the teams that are much worse than them in the standings have taken games off of very, very top teams. When you look at Golden Guardians, they've beaten teams like TSM and even taking a game off Echo Fox and so on. But Clutch has not been able to do that because despite the fact that Febvin has been very strong, Apollo has had great times, it doesn't feel like these are the guys that really stand out and make this crazy play to turn a game on its head and get them that advantage. So that's something I'm kind of looking to see if in this game, with them being behind, if any of them will step up and try to make a play.
It's also worth pointing out, by the way, that this game is kind of par for the course for Clutch anyway. They typically have a fairly large gold deficit in the first 15 or so minutes, and David Lim in the pregame interview, their coach, said, well, but yeah, but our mid game is better. People can't do anything to us in the mid game. We're really clean there. Our vision's solid. Our team fighting is good. And so them being within reach throughout the mid game, nice little hook right there. Speaking of being in reach, trap not quite going to land. Maybe Clutch Gaming now, this is the part where they start turning it on and they start finding their comeback advantages. And we'll have to see, though, as 2,500 gold lead still remains Echo Fox's lead. And the next rate coming up in 120, we'll see if anyone can even contest that.
I think one of the tough points, though, now in this specific game for the mid game is you have a Caitlyn with an IE versus a Varus with a Rage Blade. And Caitlyn, in my opinion, is massively weaker at this point, but TP coming in from behind.
Okay, so the turret has a land to get back out now. Here comes the fight with Dardoch in the front line, pulls him back in next side to Adrian, and here comes Let's Bounce, bring them forward even further. But Lyra forced to run away, has to flash, still going to get stunned, and the rest of the squad coming around. Solo finds a stun on a Phoenix, who runs right back out. Looks like a disengage all around. And Huni still in the mid lane shoving in will actually get some turret damage as a result.
Well, and they do get the turret on the bot side, so they do at least get that, and Febvin's going to be back here in time to collect the wave.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is going to be a hard mid-game to actually look to fight in at all, and if Apollo wants to try to stall that out to multiple items, I think that is where Caitlyn can really be strong again. But in my opinion, Caitlyn needs 2, if not 3 items before she really becomes relevant again. You have a great laning phase, but Rage Blade Varus is way, way stronger than an IE Caitlyn on that one item. So Echo Fox, I think, is going to be more comfortable at this point to fight. I think the scaling on Zac and Cho'Gath is superior to that of the Sejuani and the Gnar. But the mid lane is pretty even. Your bot lane is probably a lot weaker at this point, so you're going to have to delay.
Shout out Huni buying time for this blue buff to respawn. This is, I think, attempt number 3 or 4 at stealing one, but Lyra's around. Hakuo in the wings as well, but I believe unspotted on this. Depending on how Huni plays, it could be in danger. Solo rocking around him as well.
He may force Lyra to take it away himself, and it's looking like that is the case for now. Oh, they're just going to reset it because he wants to give it to Febvin. So,
yeah.
Even if Huni didn't get it himself, if he forces that to go onto Zac at this point, that is a small win.
Oh, yeah.
You definitely would not want it on the rise, if you can choose. So, Febvin going to be able to collect it, though. They do a good job kind of handling that very calmly, as no other Echo Fox members were in the area. There was no real need to panic and try to rush that down.
Yeah. Febvin making an interesting choice of going for the less defensive build. It's not going to be Abyssal Mask. He's gone for the full Rod of Ages, so a higher ability power build out of this rise. It will be more damage, just he's in more danger if the magic damage does come through.
Definitely is a little bit less survivable, and there's a lot of kind of arguments and discussions about, well, if Rod of Ages is the squishier build, even if it is on paper higher DPS, can you actually output higher DPS if you are in more danger?
Sure.
Like, does the Abyssal not allow you to position more aggressively and thus get out more damage? And that is something that is pretty hotly debated among pros, but will be interesting, and it could just be a nod towards their damage profile and their composition, right? You have a Caitlyn who's not going to be putting out a lot of DPS for quite some time. Cho'Gath, while he can put out a fair bit of burst, is not really high consistent damage. Zac is not high consistent damage, so maybe he feels he just needs to do this without kind of that third damage dealer, whereas Echo Fox, has Huni on this Gnar, who is going to be a much more consistent damage source, and thus, perhaps Phoenix is going to feel comfortable to go for that Abyssal.
Worth noting, just wanted to see that come through. That was pretty close on that one, and actually misses the clock tower anyway, so skill shot slightly wide on both these sides. 3,000 remains the difference in gold. Echo Fox holding pretty nicely here as all 3 outers have been taken. Clutch Gaming only have the one from the duo on the bot side from earlier on. Now plus 10 farm for Altec as well as these power spikes come through. Close to Wits on the one side, close to Shiv on the other.
To your point, though, about the David Lim interview, they have not really been extending the lead in this mid-game. Clutch has been kind of holding strong in that regard, but they are looking for a play now.
Spellbook to cleanse, and Hakuo gets away from that one. So, of course, no suppressions. You don't need the QSS. We've seen so many defensive supports have run that items. They can save people and not be the target themselves, so that's the Hako transition. And it's a very disengaged, focused team now. They've got 2 cleanses, a lot of backline, and seems like they're waiting to farm. And they might get off. They pull him forward. Rise comes in for a bit more damage. Let's Bounce goes nowhere, but he turns backwards anyway. Lear doesn't want to keep fighting as Huni's now around the back side, but this is a catch on the front line. Hako's going to flash, but be caught by Phoenix. 1 kill comes through, and now it's a 5v4 as Echofox looks to grab a whole lot. A big stun comes in. Meganar puts for more, but not going to catch Febiven. Phoenix getting a bit low as well. Pulled back in, but grabbed by Adrian to stay alive. The backline stays alive on this, and there might not be much more fight to have as the ultis are down. Clutch Gaming forced to disengage, but keep in mind there is a Baron on the map that Echofox might look at soon.
A nice fight there from both sides. A lot of summoners traded, but it is Echofox who has the HP advantage off of that. They are not willing to commit to actually going to the Baron. Respawn timer's pretty short here, and Hako is back up now, but they do at least get vision control, and they're able to take away that scuttle.
And over the wall he goes, and not going to catch out Drawdock there. Managed to get the last hit himself, so all in vision what Clutch is doing here. They get a control ward back, but that probably won't last too long. As the farm continues, junglers have actually managed to catch up to one another in levels. Lyra has managed to close that somewhat.
Definitely the case, but Echofox, if they do get an opportunity, can burn down the Baron incredibly fast with Varus and Cassiopeia, 2 of the kind of fastest Baron killers there. Here is the fight one more time. Nice hook. They're over onto Altec, and they know that Tahm Kench is not in his back pocket just yet, but he's able to get enough distance. Adrian comes in, saves him from that, and Huni on the backside flanking here. Phoenix coming around, who's able to clean up Hako as he flashes over the wall, but it's a very even fight. It looked like it could have gone a lot worse, honestly, here, as Huni Meganar's out, but the cleanse flash is available for Feven to get away. Both sides kind of cutting their losses and able to back off.
Really nice play, actually. I think Adrian was pretty heads up in that one. He got a lot of good saves off of Zach Q's or Zach R's that were going to tag someone, so he did a good job keeping the backline alive. 2-1 in kills. 4,000 lead for Echofox with them having Baron control one more time. Huni walking up from the bot lane, TP down. He's going to roam up and look for a play in the mid lane, it looks like.
Yeah, and Solo doesn't have a TP to actually answer this at all, so he has to just kind of follow Huni anytime he leaves. He needs to be aware of the threat of that Baron, and Huni has a red buff on him again. They're looking for Lyra here.
Jumps early so he can't be stunned in time, and it's going to be an alive Zac as he walks away. But it's now Echofox doing the Baron setup, and it's mostly Fog of War right now. There's only a couple of wards kind of near the area that let Clutch Gaming know it's not being started just yet, but okay, Cassie's running top lane. They have a few more seconds of safety, but they don't see inside the pit too cleanly, and as soon as that ward gets swept, it's all darkness.
Yeah, exactly. But that is a very nice ward because it is not spotted by one that covers the full pit. And unless you place a pink both inside the pit and outside the pit, or catch that with a sweeper, you won't know. So despite the fact that it doesn't show you the Baron, it shows you anyone entering into the Baron pit, which is giving Clutch a lot of safety. And that ward right there can honestly be the difference in a game. And it sounds funny to say, but if you don't have it, you have to blind check into a team with a gold advantage. That can mean a team fight loss. That can mean a Baron. That can mean the game. So those little things can be a really big difference. And this is one of the situations in which I think pre-planning and VOD reviewing and watching where other teams are apt to place their sneaky wards is very important, because a lot of players have very specific tendencies where they feel is the best place to place these so-called sneaky wards. And if you watch a lot of their VODs, you can learn about those and you can start to know where to check.
So something interesting to know about if you're going to prep for your teams and everything else is Echofox once again want to control this mid lane, and they are the first ones to shove, and they're going to have no problem doing this. Clutch cannot easily contest. TP's still down for the top laners. So they've once again recalled back as Winnie has his next major item going towards the Randuins. He'll be very good at surviving Caitlyn.
And I think, honestly, for Clutch, they're trying to just avoid conflict unless they think it is a very advantageous engage. I really do think they want Apollo probably on 3 items before they're really going to look to fight very much. And you know, you can kind of poke around. You need to contest for vision. You need to be somewhat proactive. You can't just give up everything. But they're trying to fight as little as possible, contest the minimum, you know, be able to just take their jungle camp, farm, and scale.
There's a stun on the Lyra. Could be in a bit of danger. Finally gets the lantern back out. Huni once again roam to find the flank. Not going to get anything meaningful just yet, as once again they fight for ward control, and Echofox yet again control that brush. They get rid of the ward, put their own one down. And once again get Scuttle, get rid of the rest of the vision, and now this time it is Fog of War, and they're rushing it down. How fast will Clutch come in to stop them? Blue Trinket used, they now know what's going on, but Huni, Meganar for 5 more seconds, waiting in the wings to stop someone out here.
It's gonna expire though. This could be a decent fight for Clutch if they can find it.
Knock by the backline, hook on to Huni, they're trying to disengage a big silence, stun on a Cho'Gath. Hako's gonna flash out, but Lyra comes right back in. They got damage to Huni though, can they knock him down? That's gonna be a yes! Hako somehow secures it, a bit unlucky, the gold goes the wrong way, but Clutch find a kill in that fight, meaning are not that effective.
Yeah, trying to take that fight from Echofox despite the fact that Mega Gnar had just timed out, was pretty risky. It's Clutch, though, that take the fight. They can push up, look to threaten the mid lane turret here with some damage now. Caitlyn's still very well alive. And despite the fact that they did kind of have the edge as far as the situation with Mega Gnar being down, Clutch was pretty split up, and it seemed like the call was, you know, pretty kind of lopsided as half the team was going in, and Hakuo was flashing out and lanterning, looking to disengage. So they were not all on the same page, but they do come out on top of the kill. It's going to be Echo Fox just starting the Baron again here, though, in a 5v4.
In 8 seconds when Huni revives, yeah, they try to make the play. At least they bait out a blue trinket usage. This should potentially give Clutch the map control to take the Drake away real quick and at least get Baron control back.
And I like the attempt just through the lens of if Clutch does greedy bases and everyone base at the same time there, maybe you can just rush that down, right? And the flank is coming in, though. TP has come in behind, and Febiven not quite with the team just yet.
And they've got to regroup. Here they are. Of course, it's still Mininar for a little while. Big Brute in the front line. Solo going to be caught out alone, but they hook him back in, and they forget him with a lantern as well. But now Phoenix is on the chase, gets some damage across, gets rooted away, has to back out. A good damage. Lyra at half HP, and of course, that is a Warmog Zac. He can regen without too many issues.
Yeah, he's not going to be in too much trouble off of that, but it's looking like the Ocean Dragon is the target here now for Echo Fox. They already have the first 2 dragons, looking to continue to pick up those neutral advantages. This may give Clutch a little bit of time to secure some more vision, but they're actually Rise ulting into the pit. They're going to try to rush this down.
That's a really cute play. Can they kill it in time? Is the issue. The Tahm Kench brings over 1. He's actually brought Phoenix on the Cassiopeia, but there is no smite. The Chomp comes in, Cleanse gets him away, and the team's going to try to disengage. Apollo jumps the wall. Febiven's going to flash to make sure he's safe, but this could still be a bit of a chase. Going to flash for a slow. This could actually be a huge play for Echo Fox. And they get the damage. 2 of them are grounded. They go to their room. Hakuo's going to have to respawn now, and a slow out from Huni's going to find a little bit towards Lyra, but only losing support for the pickup of a Baron is a great play from Clutch.
That was fantastic. The decisiveness there from Clutch to immediately Rise ult into the pit, rush it down. They do lose their support, but not a big deal at all. And utilizing the Baron minions to defend here, probably at most lose this 1 outer turret, and then Clutch should be able to be back out on there on the map and defending. That was a great move, and especially in conjunction with this Caitlyn, might be able to knock down a couple of these outers that are still standing and really try to close up some of that gold gap.
Truly could be a possibility. Of course, the gold difference as the reset comes through for Echo Fox remains over 3,000. The Baron buff, of course, gives more stats than before. That probably bridges that gap pretty nicely. We'll see what they can fight for as the red buff will reset and come back. That's going to be just waiting for Apollo here. Grabs that with one more auto attack, and now let's see if they can take the Drake with his buff on 4 of them.
Yeah, worth noting that they didn't actually finish the Dragon because they realized what was happening. They immediately fully went off it, but there is the Rise ult from Febiven, full commitment to this Baron. They know they have Cho'Gath to secure, and it is not actually Dardoch coming through with Adrian there, so no real chance of a Smite steal. And then it's just up to Phoenix to try to hold them in position long enough to try to get the rest of the 5-man squad there to be able to take them down, to be able to commit them to this fight. That's why Adrian is going over, but the box, the play, all of the work that Hakuo does to kind of slow them down, and then Dardoch just barely missing the ultimate. I'm not sure if that was blind or not, or just in anticipation of where they were.
Expected Lyra to walk, but he started channeling E, and you can't always predict that one easily. So here's the mid lane siege on the respawn there, the reset. The turret's going to be falling in the top side of the Febiven split push, but here comes a bit more engaged towards Lyra. Going to jump away, has a lantern, but that's now on cooldown. They find a catch down to the tank. There's Cho'Gath on a half HP. Dardoch in the front line getting hit some pretty hard bits of damage, and they're going to look for the trades here pretty quickly as they pull one back in. A low health Adrian pops the quick stopwatch to buy a few more seconds. 4v5 the chase and almost gets some more with Phoenix. Hakuo going to cleanse, but he will be slowed down to die. No hooks over the wall. He's got a bit more time to spend. But here comes Tahm Kench. Who is he bringing with him? It's going to be Huni in the Mega Gnar. Can there be a disengage for Hakuo? He does not have the Baron buff. He will not recall fast, but he is in fog.
Yeah, and Apollo was able to actually get out of there with the Baron recall, but pretty aggressive plays there from Clutch, you know, moving up very far forward with Rise up on the top side, and Solo gets kind of focused down before he can even get his feast out. He's not really able to contribute too much to that fight. They do get 1 turret for the kill, so in the long run, you still say that is a worth fight for Clutch. They are looking to push up here mid, and they really want to knock down this last outer and continue to kind of close that gold gap, because at 31 minutes, a 3K gold lead is not a big deal. They were actually 3K down long ago in this game, and are going to be able to close this gold gap to just about 2K, 2.5.
Yeah, really nicely done. The mid-game for Clutch, and they certainly don't play a flashy style. It's a 6-kill game at 30 minutes overall, but they've held within arm's reach of Echo Fox the entire time. They got that Baron sneak, and now Elder Dragon will be the first to spawn, but Echo Fox, of course, so many more Drake buffs means that's a better objective for them.
It certainly does, but it's, while it's not flashy, it's intelligent, because if they were to fight into this Raked Blade Varus with a 1-item Caitlyn, you would expecting them to be getting smashed in these fights. But now this is a 3-item Caitlyn with a QSS. This is the point where Caitlyn really does start to turn on, and he's going to want some armor pen and so on and so forth, but he's getting pretty strong. Here's the engage again. Febiven up on the top side of the map. Already had taken down the turret, and the Miasma here over onto Solo, kind of locking him down, focused down with the Varus ultimate there as well. But again, it's Clutch kiting back pretty well, disengaging pretty well, and finding ways to escape. And this is slick here from Hakuo. Immediate cleanse. The instant cleanse on the support, hooks over the wall, runs up to the top side. It actually escapes there. So pretty smart play from him, and really well done overall.
You're seeing what Cassiopeia is doing in those team fights, though. Triple the damage of what's coming out of Febiven. We got to see if that Rise can actually pick up a bit more later on in this game, as Apollo's been doing the heavy lifting here.
Also worth noting, though, Febiven wasn't there for most of the fight. True. He was coming from the top side, but now that Apollo is at a stronger point, you may see Clutch more willing to actually group for 5v5 and look for more of the even number of fights, because their AD carry is at a strong point. I would say he is probably stronger right now than the Varus. And it's going to be interesting to see how they try to play this out. Are they going to continue to be a bit more risk-averse, or are they willing to actually match up in straight-up 5v5?
And interestingly, in these team fights, Phoenix has an incredibly high magic resist build. Abyssal Mask plus Banshee's Veil, 152 MR. There is a Void Staff from Febiven, but honestly, Cassio can pretty easily duel the Rise based on builds right now, can tank that damage so easily.
And I think it's a very intelligent build. I always like to look at it as kind of top side of the map. Anytime the top side of a team's map is all magic damage, building for these items is so incredibly efficient. It's a Zac, it's a Cho'Gath, it's a Rise. Those are the 3 people that are probably more likely to be hitting you as Phoenix in these team fights. And then that MR not only is helping him duel up against the Rise, it's helping him deal with any of the additional damage that is coming out from those other members. So unless it is Apollo actually getting forward and hitting onto the Cassiopeia, which can be very difficult and often compromise your positioning, he's going to be really tanky, and that in combination with his sustain and kind of self-peel with the Miasma can make him really tough to take down.
All right, so things to watch for then. 80% crit chance on the Cassio, sorry, not Cassiopeia, the Caitlyn here. 3, yeah, that would be a bit of a troll build, so that's ARAM only for that one. But
I don't even think that's ARAM. That's like,
hey, I
played
played against AD LeBlanc literally yesterday on ARAM, okay? It's not Cassiopeia, but still exists.
Definitely better.
Yeah, true. Oh, try to stop the recalls. Not going to find that one here. Phoenix, shields upon shields. Banshees plus the Seraph's Embrace as Huni looks for the bottom lane. Now wants to kill out Solo. And yeah, it's Tahm Kench bringing a friend as well. Nice knockup. Actually juking away from the ulti. Nicely done by Solo. 1v3 kites it out.
Yeah, not that much threat on him, honestly, damage-wise either. And they're looking for the re-engage. Lyra is going forward.
Gets the smite, so he has a rebel for himself, and Rise not going to come into that one. Wanted to bait that a little bit, and Phoenix chases forward. Knocka's going to land on a 2, though. Solo gets a silence. A lot of damage on a Huni, and the stun now on a Dardoch on the trap. A big chunk of damage. Locket, burn. Can they pull one in? No.
Still not going over.
Oh, he finally does flash over. Redemption going to buy some more time, but there is not really a team fight yet. Here, the front line again. Re-engages. Dardoch low, flashing away. Huni a bit injured. They're going to look for this kill on Solo. Just barely slinks away and stays alive. Phoenix low on health, but Apollo can't quite find the autos to knock him down, and it will be all 10 alive one more time.
A very disappointing fight, though, from Solo. Waits so long to flash over, then doesn't even get his feast out. I feel like he needed to pull the trigger on that. He needed to flash over the wall earlier when some of the tanks have been getting pulled in. If you flash over and you can get that full feast off, you might be able to turn that into more of a snowballed fight. Hesitates a bit, though, and it's Apollo now having to back off as Solo's getting back out on the map, is running out here, building towards this stone play, which will increase the damage coming out of that beast. But you can start to see how confidently Apollo is really playing in some of these team fights, stepping forward, looking for damage. Feels pretty safe with the QSS plus the Fresh.
Fog of War, scary tanks in the front line. Double Dragon up in 10 seconds. Baron alive right now, and I think Echo Fox wins either of those trades. Right now they're going for the Baron side of this one.
On the side.
About to be Mega, looking for that flank. Can they push him out of this one? This is a fight that Clutch will not like to take because Mega Gnar is so powerful. Apollo getting some poking, though, really playing on the front lines. He knows he has QSS and feels safe to put a couple auto attacks down there. Gets a couple hundred health off of Dardoch. Clock Tower comes in again, a knock up, and now Huni will be mini Gnar once again, but priority on mid lane, they can knock down tier 2 here.
Yeah, Echo Fox has the minions, and they're running straight down here. Febiven on the side has to force his cleanse. Huni jumping in without Mega Gnar, though, very dangerous.
Half HP, Dardoch down to 1300, and there's some pretty low health bars there. Does have Warmonks will be done up in just a second or two right now, so out they go. Mid lane once again now goes to Clutch.
The minion waves on the side lanes, though, are kind of split. Adrian
that
getting
could be a kill, that could feast him, that could be a dead Adrian. The chomp comes in, the damage, finally a kill comes through, 3 to 4, flashing away, but they got Phoenix. QSS used the duel against Apollo. Who's gonna win it? Flashing away, Febiven now in the play. The ulti coming across, the MR is so high, but the damage comes through. Now back on the left side, hook shift really gonna miss.
Nice,
Mega Narc pushing away Lyra. Now Febby on top of the squad. Dardoch gonna jump over the wall. He's gonna stay safe. And now they're on to Baron. Dardoch, Q is on cooldown, no flash available, does have snipe, but he can't get in the pit for at least 5 more seconds. And that's gonna be Baron to Clutch.
They're just gonna back off, they're gonna give it up. There's no feast available, but it will be Clutch Baron, and they are basically tied up in the gold. They have the minion wave to pick up. Elder is on the map, so they need to immediately get back out there, and they could potentially just try to rush down this Elder Dragon. There's 30 seconds still on the respawn here from Phoenix. A TP is available from Solo, so I think that they should immediately start the Elder with the Baron stats, and that could really be what starts to push the games heavily in their favor.
A Summonerless Phoenix cannot join that fight easily. 12 seconds in the respawn, and yeah, this should be a pretty easy team fight for Clutch to
I'm surprised they're not starting it.
I think they're shocked. They're just delaying the time. They know Phoenix can't join easily. They've got a few seconds to play with. They're making sure the waves are under control, and now they can start this one up. Maybe it's going to be a bit too slow as Phoenix is on the map, but they know the timing windows. I mean, this is a team that was happy to play a slow and conservative mid-game, and still, you can see Elder dies well before Phoenix could join. They knew the timing, and Clutch Gaming have just checked all the boxes now in this mid-game. Up 200 gold now. A very weak Elder Dragon, but one all the same.
And denying it from your opponents is so big in this situation. Echo Fox has been collecting the dragons all game long, trying to build up to this crescendo where they get the Elder Dragon. They have all that power. But you are facing down almost a full build Caitlyn who has Lord Dominix, who will be able to punch through the tanks now, and is so strong in a siege situation in combination with the Baron. And you have the Stone Plates finish on both the tanks, which is going to increase not only the defensive capabilities, but also the offensive there of Solo on the Shogath. And Clutch is really putting together all the pieces that they need to potentially take this game.
Yet another kind of loss in sort of consecutive weeks for Echo Fox. They've had a bit of a set of stumbles towards the end of the split right there. Clutch Gaming, oh, didn't quite pull in Solo. He's oddly enough by himself, fitting with the name. Not like it really mattered, but
yeah, it was like a half-screen Rise rotation anyway. It didn't really do anything, but here they are. They have the Baron buff. They are looking to knock down even more outers and extend the gold lead. And they had spent almost this entire game behind, but they are now heavily in the advantage. They are pushing down. They're looking to force forward onto this inhibitor.
Calm reserve mid-game now into an advantageous late-game Clutch Gaming. Looking for those team fights, those objective plays that'll win them the game. Huni in the front line, but he's mini. Not easy to deal with. No banner of commands in this team, so it's not the most dangerous of cannons, as Zale about to say it himself. Give me the thumbs up. I appreciate you, man.
Keep it up.
Thanks, you too, buddy. Now some damage, though, but it's actually a pretty low AP. Phoenix, so Duffcap comes in. Now a hook on the front line. Adrian can be chopped down. Puts in the shield. It doesn't matter. He gets evaporated. And now in the back line, Lyra wants it. Flashes. Ulti comes in. They've all sidestepped it, but they got the damage. Phoenix is going to fall. The turret's dead as well, and it's a 5v3. Clutch Gaming can now walk it into the base. 40 minutes in, they finally get the lead. The inhibitor is down.
That's going to be that, I think.
And it seems like they will do it. Mr. Consistency, Clutch Gaming will finally look for that first upset win of the split. The third place team, they do lose one, but they get the trade kill back. Now 4v2 in the base. The play is in. Huni left alone, and he will be shut down to the very end of it all. A few more shots. The cannon minion can do it. The flash hook, the ace. And yes, Clutch will complete the upset. They will be half a game behind a first-round bye in the playoffs. They had Echo Fox their fourth loss, and now Mark Z must predict Clutch for the rest of the split.
And what a game it was. Clutch Gaming in Week 8 has finally arrived. They take down a team above them in the standings. They give us that statement game that shows they can compete with the best in the league, that they are someone to look out for in the playoffs, and they've got to be feeling so good now. As you said, only half a game back of a playoff bye. This is a team that has been overlooked throughout most of the split and really are peaking at the right time.
The damage graph for this game, by the way, actually ludicrous. Quick math in my head, Apollo did roughly half of the team's damage. Also roughly double anyone on the opposing team either. Mark actually predicted Apollo, you know, put him on the tier list as like somewhere around 5th or 6th. Jat put him at 9th. Shame on you, Jat. As we all know, Apollo is A tier. Last I did the tier list, that was the case. So really good stuff out of the bot lane. And it wasn't like bot lane got smashed in lane. Nope. It wasn't what happened here. A bit of attention from Lyra, but it didn't really matter. A 10 CS lead was all it was. But I think Apollo looked at the gold graph and the damage graph was like, hey guys, they did pretty good this game. Sounds like that was pretty solid. His most played in his professional career. Apollo on the Caitlyn puts on a pretty heavy carry performance. as the team played through a very dull mid-game.
And another 8.4 loss for Varus, who really has not been finding a lot of success on the patch.
Let's send it down now to Avali and Clutch Gaming's Chain Warden in the support role.
Thanks, guys. I'm here with Hakuho. Congratulations on that victory against Echo Fox. You and Apollo playing great in the bot lane. What makes your bot lane so strong?
I mean, as a duo, we've been playing together for 3 splits now, so we have really good synergy, and we know what we want to do. And I think this meta is good for us because we can pretty much play for the 2v2, which is what we're good at. And so long as we can get ahead through bot, I think we can carry the game.
And in this meta, we've already seen you break out the Morgana, Thresh again, and a little bit of Taric. What do you think about the current state of support, and how does it maybe fit your play style?
So supports right now can play like anything. It's mostly just tanks and like CCs though. I prefer like Karma Zyra meta because I really like killing people, but Thresh is good at that too, so I'm having fun with it.
Well, congratulations again on that win. And for more on the game, let's hear from the State Farm Analyst Desk.
Thank you very much, Avli. Prefers Karma Zyra metas, but Thresh could still get some kills in, and he played quite well on that Thresh in this game. First victory for Clutch above that line that we had talked about at the top of the day.
They did it. They got the statement win.
And I got it right.
And Mark got it right. Kind of like in spite of yourself. It's one of those things where
it was in spite of a lot of things too. Like we talked about these win conditions, and both teams kind of played to them, but that didn't actually end up influencing why either team won that much.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, you could see concerted efforts by 100 Thieves to play around the bot lane, but they lost their 2 top lane turrets first, and then Clutch lost their 2 top lane turrets first, and then finally got the bottom one later. And then they were playing through Huni, and things were going well, but then they lost the game.
It was a really well-played game overall. Like, this was one of the most intense 4-kill-to-4 games at 37 minutes that I've probably ever seen.
I was going to say high action, low kill, and it kind of speaks to the fact that you can play towards win conditions, but ultimately those win conditions aren't guaranteed to take you to victory. This one was more a factor of team fights and the positioning as a 5v5 in the later game.
Yeah, I mean, once it got into this 5v5 phase, like, we were kind of waiting for Huni to either make the big play or make the big mistake, and we were saying, like, Huni's not going to jump into the team as Mininar against a Cho'Gath, surely. But then he did, and like that one little mistake there, Clutch Gaming immediately pounced on, right? They had great Baron control. When Echo Fox was going for Dragon, they Rise ulted in to get the first Baron. And whenever they would make what looked like a dangerous play, they'd always get out with such minimal casualties.
I mean, that's the big thing for why this game was so fun to watch despite the low kill count, was like, crazy plays, but only one person dying at a time. And this was one of the key fights that was more than one person. Finally, they get a bunch. They get Adrian right away. They're going to finish off Phoenix. A little over-aggressive by Apollo, but he does a good enough job baiting in Phoenix to allow Febiven to get on top of him. They get that kill. And with that, they've killed everyone off. Apollo's going to heal up, obviously, as an AD carry. They're going to chase down some more people, and they get complete control of this Baron decisively with kills. They can reset on the map, get the Elder Dragon, and set up this play.
Hooks, man. Notice how all of these start with a hook.
Yeah, and you know, you were wondering during the draft why pick Thresh into Tahm Kench, because during the lane, he's just going to eat other people. But in the late game, you just took Tahm Kench.
Right.
And then you burst him down with the Cho'Gath and the rest of your tank.
As well as the fact that he does have defensive tools.
That damage.
That's a lot.
Apollo.
This is going to be tough. But Thresh also can save people. There are a couple times where he protected his front line when they got overextended. So, you know, Thresh isn't quite as binary as like, I hooked and then Tahm Kench ate him and now I'm useless and running in circles. There's other things you can do.
I mean, it is interesting, right, looking at Apollo, because, I mean, you were vocal, Jat, about the fact that it was difficult for you to put him so far down on your ADC tier list. And I think this is kind of one of those games that goes to show just why that is, because a majority of ADCs in our league are capable of having those pop-off performances.
And the thing with Apollo this game actually flies in the face of one of the main criticisms I've had for him throughout his career is he's a good lane player, he's safe, but I never felt like he was carrying late game team fights. This game I felt like he was. He was always in damage range, always doing damage, and you could see it by the numbers there. He was the main carry by far.
And now we are going to get a quick sneak peek into Clutch Gaming's comms. During the pregame, Mark, as you had elected to predict them for victory, let's take a look.
Good prediction, Mark.
Oh my God, Mark said we would win. Really? I'm not even shitting you.
Oh my God.
Guys, this is the time. This is it.
Right.
We got to do it for Mark. I'll do it for Mark.
Mark cursed us.
He actually cursed us, though.
Yeah, he actually did curse us.
We thought Marks was the hater, but it was Jat.
It was Jat all along. Bring back Freak. He was nice to me.
See? I believe in you guys. I'm not a curse. You beat Echo Fox. Great job.
Jat's the real non-believer.
Jat doesn't believe him. He puts him lower. with them finishing 6th. Come on.
Oops. Didn't get that one right.
I mean, to be fair, this was an upset win. It's very understandable. I was ready for, like, if they lost, to be like, see, this is why we don't believe in you. So I was.
That's the whole reason you predicted them.
No, I really did.
Right. He was planning for the ability to do that.
Absolutely. I really believe that they were going to win this game.
I mean, but that doesn't mean that Clutch was without fault, because let's remember that they were behind in terms of a gold lead for the majority of this game. It wasn't until the end with a few of those picks that they were kind of able to wrestle control back.
And this is them, this is them trying to play to their play style where they pick the counter pick bot lane, they're trying to go aggressive, but like Lyra's charging a slingshot at different times, Apollo throws a hook, but now the slingshot's not up to punish them going in, and then this counter gank.
And in this instance, you actually want the Sejalt to land so you can counter gank it with the 3 people and put more pressure on Dardoch. That led into Echo Fox getting the top lane turret. Here, you hook the Varus. I actually expected Lyra to move his jump a little bit further behind Altec so they can't disengage so far. So there's good and bad things about this. Like, Clutch Gaming was always in what I felt like the right position to make a lot of these plays and had mild misses in their execution, but then what I would compliment them on is their ability to get out after it's gone wrong. They only lost 1 person for that engagement.
There were a number of skirmishes that it looked like the kind of classic Echo Fox fight where it's like, oh, they went too far, they're kind of getting caught out, but they out-micro people, and suddenly they're going to turn around and smash them. There was one where they were between 2 turrets in the bot lane at like 12 minutes.
Right.
But they never actually smashed Clutch Gaming. They got out with 1 kill there numerous times, and that level of coordination, despite not working out in the engages, being able to get out and not get blown out of the water is why you can hold up to Echo Fox.
I think the final thing to hit here is what does this mean for Echo Fox? Again, this is a team that only dropped 1 game on the first half of the split. They have now lost 3 on the back half. They're 500, just like Golden Guardians is.
They play CLG tomorrow. They're 1 game ahead of Clutch now, with an even head-to-head. Clutch is now in the conversation for a playoff
bye, and that's what I'm saying. So for Echo Fox, is there any concern here? You've already locked your postseason. That's in the bag. You will be playing in the playoffs, but there's got to be some concern with a downward trend here near the end of the season, while the rest of our playoff picture teams seem to be trending up, at least slightly.
I will say that this looked to me like a very well-played game from both sides.
Okay.
Even if Clutch Gaming would have lost this game, I would say that is one of their best games they had played because of how well they were matching Echo Fox's aggression.
Okay.
So I think as long as
Echo Fox... so damning for Echo Fox?
I don't think so. Like, as long as they don't tilt off of this too hard, I think most teams would crumble under the pressure Echo Fox was exerting with Huni flanks and Baron forces and engages. It's just Clutch played amazing defense.
Yeah, they had the first 2 turrets of the game. Dardoch had a massive lead. That's the kind of quintessential Echo Fox win. Just didn't happen this time.
All righty, we're stepping away for a quick break. When we return, it's FlyQuest versus CounterLogic Gaming. Game 2 is coming up after the break.
Oh my god, Mark said we would win. Really? I'm not even shitting you. Oh my god. Guys, this is the time. This is it. We got to do it for Mark. Do it for Mark.
Oh, the Q. Actually good damage. Can he land some more spells? Got a half HP. Fabivin gets hit up one more time. Flashes in, but he can't do the damage.
Oh wait, who actually picked CG? Who's that? Z. Is it Noob or what?
That could be a kill. That could feast him. That could be a dead Adrian. The chop comes in. The damage. Finally, a kill comes through. 3 to 4. Flashing away. But they got Phoenix. QSS used the duel against Apollo. Who's going to win it? Flashing away. Fabivin now in the play. The ulti coming across.
There's.
Go ahead. And. Maxi! Maxi!
Holy fuck. Marx is the savior.
Maxi! Let's go!
Welcome to Assist of the Week, presented by State Farm. Since we know the importance of lending a hand, we want to highlight players and plays that help the team bring home the big W. If you have a favorite assist from this week that you want us to highlight, tweet the clip with the hashtag NALCS and the hashtag State Farm Assist, and we may feature it in a future episode. So get out there and bring some support.